In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the very merciful. Today, very briefly, I want to talk about structural racism. Structural racism is when laws or society make such rulings or such an environment in which a certain race automatically has a disadvantage in that society. And when it comes to Muslims, it's not a race, it's a religion. A prime example of that would be the law of redlining that existed in the United States, in which people who lived in certain neighborhoods, which were ideally or generally black and Latino neighborhoods, those individuals would have a hard time getting a loan from the bank or even getting employment. So for example, when I was studying in South Africa, the government made a law that in order for students to attain a visa, the institute that they are studying in needs to be registered like a Western university, which would mean that Islamic seminaries, which were, really, really successful in South Africa, and hundreds of students, if not thousands, were studying in South Africa that came from all around the world. And in an instant, boom, this law was passed, and all these institutes lost a lot of momentum because their international students could no longer get visa. But the funny thing was, they could always play it off, because the first law, it was not against black or Latino people, it was against certain communities. And the second law, it was not against Muslim seminaries, no, it was against institutes that are not recognized as Western universities. It's not racist, meaning people try to play this off. So today, when Quebec is setting itself to ban the Niqab, what I found really ironic was that their justice minister, Stephanie Vallier, she's saying that this rule, it doesn't target religious symbols. It would also apply to, for instance, masked protesters. So my first thing about this issue is, we as a community need to gather and realize and agree and call it what it is. It is structural racism. It's not affecting the masked protester as much as it's affecting those individuals that believe this to be a part of their faith and who believe that Canada will give them that faith. And that takes us to point number 2. Let's not get lost in the debate whether covering the face is mandatory or not. Whether you think that covering the face is mandatory, or forget that, you don't cover your face, you don't know anyone who covers their face. We still need to unite together as Canadians and additionally as Muslims. Because this is the first step. That if there is a single Canadian that believes something from the bottom of their heart, that it is the core of their belief that they have to do something in their religion, as long as it is not a major harm to the community, we as a society need to strive to be inclusive of that. That is not only a Canadian value, that is also a value of Islam. So, let's not get lost in that debate. It doesn't matter where you stand on that debate. We need to unite our voices against this, because this is the first step against our religious freedom, and this is the first step towards their racism and their bigotry. So we do not get lost in that debate, and we unite and we stand for those individuals that truly believe that they need to cover their faces in their faith. The third thing. Recently, or at least for the past few years, a lot of things have been happening. But recently we had the Rohingya crisis. Then we had that unfortunate tragedy in Somalia. And now we have the Niqab ban. And now we are having segregated schools being banned in England. Which once again, they're not saying that's a racist thing, but they're only implementing it mainly to Islamic schools. So when all these things are happening, there's so many things that we even get tired talking about it. But let's remember the core of our faith. The first step needs to be that we need to turn to Almighty Allah. And we right now have an amazing opportunity. As the days of winter are approaching and nights are getting longer, we have an easier opportunity to pray the tahajjud prayer. Right now, you can pray the tahajjud prayer up to like around 5:50 a.m. And it's only going to get easier. So let's start making our intentions. You want to be an activist, you want to stand up for people's rights, you want to be the voice of Muslims, the first thing that we need to do is we need to ask Almighty Allah, and then we need to ask the people. We ask Allah to give us the power to unite against this, to see the truth as truth, and to see the lies as lies. May Allah guide us all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.